Oh, how the fun never ends. We continue on with our rebuild of the Detroit Red Wings. A very interesting time for the Red Wings because of the amount of contracts that are up. Thankfully, it will start eating into the cap space that we have to fill every season. This was pointed out in the comments section of the last episode, and I missed it. Jamie Drysdale is now a high elite. Brennan Othmann, a high top 6. So this strategy seems to be paying off a little bit. But for now, let's get this team sorted. Of course, the goaltending, Tristan Lennox, will be coming back. Might as well sign him up to a 3-year max ELC, which is now $950. Kari Pirinen, I mean, he's not great, but obviously we're going to look to keep him under contract. Thomas Greiss we will drop for the moment. Good chance he comes back. And of course, Howard Lowe is there. Intrigued to see how much he improves in terms of overall. I'm hoping for like a 54 at least, but that might be wishful thinking. Defensively, here's the big one. The Jamie Drysdale contract. How much is he looking for? Yep, and you know what? He absolutely deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. If we can get him to sign for $9.925, I will be very, very happy with that. I mean, we shouldn't really run into cap issues in this series at any point, so Drysdale is going to help out a lot, obviously, if we can keep him. Matthew Bales, our second highest rated defenseman. I'm going to try to sign him for 5 years at this point. Actually, you know what? I'm not. I'm always afraid, because what used to happen in the NHL games is you used to be able to sign players to extended contracts, but it would stunt their development a little bit. I'm not sure if it still happens. So we'll go 2025 for the next 2 years for Bales. We'll just meet the asked for years for these players if it's a one-way deal. If it's a two-way deal, obviously, like with Marcus Gretz, we'll just go ahead and sign him. Michael Bianconi, we will also look to sign for a 3x2. Nick Hjalmarsson shall be dropped. Nathan Staios, I mean, he's never really going to develop, but he can be an AHL staple, maybe the captain of the team. Logan Payette will be dropped. Vinny Laverty will be dropped. Fallon is not great, but a similar thing here. Sign him, let him play in the AHL, and see what happens. I'll just let Laverty be auto-dropped. For the wingers, Brennan Othmann is going to need a big boy deal. He only wants a 1-year deal, which is concerning. Like, again, he's the type of player where it's like, okay, you know, are we going to be concerned? I know I don't necessarily have to do the 85% trick, right? But I still kind of prefer to. It's habit at this point, more than anything. We'll just give Max Galad what he's looking for, over $3 million. Yzerman's not that good, but we will look to sign him up long term. And I'll worry about the dudes who aren't currently signed here in a moment. Actually, here, let's advance forward a day. See what happens. Let's see what happens from here. Bales is back. Galad is back. Drysdale rejected, which is fine. Gretz signed, Bianconi, Brennan Othmann, Tristan Lennox, Nathan Staios, Pirinen, Yzerman, Fallon. Okay, so the only dude to reject, unfortunately, oh boy, unfortunately, it was Jamie Drysdale. Now, we were looking at 9.9. I'm going to go for $10 million. 10 by 8. And we'll see if Jamie is willing to accept that. Let me just go ahead and cut Vinny Laverty now. Of course, it was a bad draft. No defenseman selected. We'll sign Brennan to his ELC. We will sign McCauley to his ELC. We might as well sign everybody and just try to make the best of it. Cavallo, we'll sign him as well. Of course, Cassenhat, as I have to call him now. We have Cardwell. Sign him up for the year, that's fine. Cashman up to a 69 overall. Be able to sign him for another 3 years. Milan Lucic will drop for the moment. And Barnes, who's a bit of a disappointment, we'll still sign him. For the centers, Hayden Fowler, our top-rated center at the moment. We'll just go ahead and sign him to that. Hoffman, looking for 1.6. And Pierce, looking for a decent chunk of change there. We'll still sign him to it. Of course, Neal, who was our first-round pick this past year, will be signed, as will Ernie. We'll see what happens from there. Jamie, what do you think? Neal signs, Cashman signs, Derek Barnes, Hoffman, Fowler, Drysdale again rejects. Pierce, Cardwell, McCauley, Ernie. All right, so basically everybody signed now except for Jamie Drysdale. Which, you know what? We'll go 10.5 on the 8-year deal. He wants to re-sign. I just don't think he wants that 8th year. We have time to negotiate, though. So obviously we're not going to be losing Jamie Drysdale. Let's see what happens. Rejects again. We'll go 11/8, which is still worth it to me. And hopefully he accepts that. Damn, Jamie is just refusing that 8th year. All right, let's go 10/7. And we'll also send out a qualifying offer here this week as well. Let's see if he's willing to do that. Okay, we'll have to do it next week that we qualify him. Advance a day. It's the final day. Jamie is problematic right now. So we'll qualify him. We're obviously not going to lose him. And we'll go 10.5/7. And if he doesn't accept that, then we're going to match whatever offer he gets. So Drysdale continues to reject. Obviously, we're going to have to redo the coaching staff as well. So we're going to continue to work with Jamie to see what we can do in terms of getting a contract signed. He now apparently wants 11.3. Damn. What if we go 5 years? 5 years at 11.5. And then as long as the RFA, the whole expiry status doesn't glitch, he should be fine. We'll see if he accepts that. And in that way, we're still, able to get him on a cheaper contract down the road. Only other thing we have to worry about now is the coaching staff. So this offseason's actually, we got to be a little bit more hands-on here. So we need to completely redo the AHL coaching staff. Oh, boy. I'll do that in a minute because that's going to be a pain. And then for scouts, obviously we're just looking to have anybody who's at least an A-. We need 4 more scouts. So let's go ahead and sign these 4. Wade Lau, Del Rio, who was ours to begin with, Earl Noonan, Braden Linglet, or maybe Del Rio wasn't ours, but Cyrus Del Rio. There you go. So we'll redo the coaching staff here in a moment. Obviously the big news right now is whether or not we're going to be able to get Jamie to sign. Which, I'm sure that we will, and then we'll be able to fill out the roster. So Del Rio is on as a scout. Wade Lau, we're just wanting to hear from Jamie at this point. Come on, Jamie, you're making us wait, and I don't like it. There we go. So Jamie Drysdale's back 5 years at $11.5 million. We'll see what happens in terms of getting him on a team-friendly deal down the line. So I'll see you guys at the beginning of the next season once this roster is finalized. All right, the team is set. It might catch you off guard in a few ways, but this is what we're dealing with this season. I'm really continuing the approach of going with the best potentials, but also now focusing on chemistry a bit too. So the top line is Brennan Othman with Tony Shepard and Brendan Hoffman. Second line of Cameron Merritt, William McCauley, and Willie Cashman with that +3. Indeed, he does wear the number 69. Clint Cavallo is alongside Hayden Fowler and Ethan Cardwell. And then the fourth line, which is why I said it might be surprising, it's Harvey Brennan with Max Galad and our first-round pick, Reed Neal. All as grinders, but you would have seen it, that +5 for that line. I'm intrigued. And Harvey Brennan at a low top 6, it's a potential that I hate, but we'll see what he can do. Cavallo's at a medium 9. Fowler, of course, we know, at a medium bottom 6 as well as Cardwell. The second line is where it's interesting because you have 2 medium elites with Cashman and Cameron Merritt. And then, of course, a medium bottom 6, a medium top 6, and then a new high top 6 in Brennan Othman. I always want to say Hoffman because of the other guy. But I'm intrigued to see what this team can do. We're going to be bad this year. Some players just don't fit in well with this coach. Othman's a better fit for the second line, but there's nobody on the second line who's that much of a better fit on the top line, so you see how that works out. Defensively, it's the same exact thing as last year with Eddie McGrath alongside Jamie Drysdale, Matthew Bales next to Nick Stock, and Marcus Gretz alongside Edgar Sasaki, who's up to a 57 already, so that's not too bad. And speaking of improvements, the goaltending is going to be Tristan Lennox and Howard Lowe, who went up by 5 points last year. So, you think of it now, he has, 6 years left of development. In theory, he's going to cap out around an 82 if he continues that development pattern, which has him as a really good goaltending option. So is he going to hit an 82? Probably not. But, you know, if he can hit an 80 at best, that means he'll probably finish somewhere in the mid-70s. That's a decent enough backup for how this game works. So I think it's, you know, worth it to stick with Howard Lowe as our backup goaltender. Of course, down in the AHL as well, there are certain guys, Yzerman, Pierce, Cohen, some dudes of a higher overall that we could play at the NHL level instead of Cavallo, but for me, it's not really worth it. I am going to stick with giving the best potential players the best opportunities to develop. And because I know people are interested, the captain of the team right now is actually not Jamie Drysdale, it's Cardwell, the lone leader in terms of morale on this team. Shepard is listed as a present, so Drysdale has the A. You guys get a look, I guess, if you care enough to see what numbers people wear. And then down in the AHL, I think it's one of our dudes, of course, who has captaincy. So with that, we get to the real main event here before we figure out the draft lottery, and that is the draft class. At least the main event of this segment. Let's see how this goes down and who is available to us. Hopefully we get some good options. Top OHL player is Chase Machias. Not what we were hoping for. Jose Holt of the Sioux, so we don't have anyone projected in the top 10. Chris Pratt. Go figure. We have two more options to get someone who's projected in the first round here. Yes, Deandre Carleton of the Saginaw Spirit. Good stuff there, the 17-year-old. Yes, please. Desperately need you to be available. Rocky Korea, great name, not available to us. There is some debate now. People are saying maybe sneak Snarnia? Maybe sneak Sarnia into the mix. Easy for me to say. You know, I'm not going to do that yet, but it is something that could happen down the road, especially, too, if it's a draft that's looking like it's going to be this bad. Next up is Alan Maldine, another winger, unfortunately, and this is definitely the best place for me to be like, hey, make sure I scout out potentials for these players here. But Maldine, also available. Cody Lucasta, a defenseman, 17 years old, for the Windsor Spitfires, projected just inside the second round, so pretty happy with that. There's also Xavier Scuderi, but you see the drop from Lucasta to Scuderi in terms of the central scouting rankings. That's going to hurt quite a bit. Where the hell is my A-grade guy? There he is, Fred Gehring. It doesn't make too much of a difference. Lucas Sim not available. Ottawa, Mississauga, Hamilton, Barrie, Erie. We got our first Otter. It's Len Barron, an overager, unfortunately. So that's less than ideal. Kitchener, Sudbury, Flint. We get our first Firebird. Robinson Goodbranson. Robinson Gradbudskin. Robinson Gufferson. What a player. Also available to us. Another Saginaw player. Good draft for Saginaw. Manny Armstrong, another 17-year-old defender. So good to see some defensemen in the mix. We definitely need to add some defensemen after the last draft was a bit barren. We got our first Windsor Spitfire. It's Jake Darling. Again, though, a 17-year-old player, so it's promising. Someone who might actually have a chance to develop. You have Jackson Thomas, Blanchard, Jessi Anderson from the Erie Otters, the pride of Pennsylvania, available to us. Kitchener, North Bay, Sioux, Peterborough, Owen, Mississauga, Flint, Sawyer Hay, down in the 236 range. That's not ideal. I'm not really planning on looking below 300. Cody Thorne of the Windsor Spitfires as well, also available to us. You got Bieksa, Gogol, and Cyrus Hansen. So we have enough players to not have to worry about anyone beyond the 300s, which is good because you can't trust reports for players beyond that mark. Brian Pinot, also available, another member of the Windsor Spitfires. And I think that will do it more than likely for players inside the 300s, and indeed it will. Top player outside of it, Dawson Lupel, which for the hell of it, we'll go ahead and scout him, but we're not even halfway beyond the list. So there's going to be a lot of guys who are in next year's draft as 18 and 19-year-olds, of course. That's just how it's going to go. So the top players to look out for, I mean, definitely, Lucasta just inside the second round. Deandre Carleton, it's already been decided. He's going to be our top pick in the draft, barring a miracle known as us making the playoffs, which is not going to happen. So I will see you guys at the end of this season, the end of the regular season indeed, just to get you a look at what our overall ratings are for this season. 63, 62, and a 55. Poor Jaime Drysdale. 14, 60, and 8 on the season. Needless to say, we did not make the playoffs. We very much did not. Jaime Drysdale, of course, led this team in points. The point total down a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if he won the Norris on the third attempt. But before we take a look at the player stats, of course, we'll look around the league. Ottawa wins the division. Tampa, Montreal, Toronto, and Buffalo all make the playoffs. The Bruins, the bottom aside from us. In the Metro, it is Washington, Philadelphia, and Columbus. The Pittsburgh Penguins, back to pre-Crosby days. That is unfortunate. In the Central, Winnipeg, Chicago, and Minnesota. St. Louis, Nashville, and especially Dallas were hot garbage. And in the Pacific, LA, Edmonton, San Jose, Vancouver, and the Golden Knights make it. Anaheim sucked. Arizona was somehow worse. So again, another season. You look at what Washington did. Good Lord. 260-win teams. Winnipeg on 57. It was the haves and the have-nots. Thankfully, we were still very, very, very far down the pecking order. By far, the worst offense in the league. Washington at a 4. Our goals against average was by far the worst as well. So, not expecting to see very pretty player stats here, if I'm being honest. So again, Drysdale led this team in points. Brendan Othman, though, for forwards with 58. 49 for Hoffman. 39 for Cardwell and Fowler. Galad still had 36 points. He had power play time, of course. Shepard with 34. Cashman with 32. Merritt with a pretty disappointing 20. McCauley at 19, and from there it just continues to drop. Neal, don't think he's going to be winning the Calder this season. Defensively, Drysdale, of course, led the way. 34 points for Bales is not too shabby, but everybody else, it really does fall off. For the goaltenders, it was absolutely brutal, and even worse for Howard Lowe. 1-15-1 for the 19-year-old. So, still not great for Detroit, but we're going to get there in due time. As Sasha Pashuzhov of the Washington Capitals, 60-60 club. Tarasenko was up there, Kuznetsov, Scheifele, Shane Pinto for Ottawa, Laine, Ehlers, McDavid, John Leonard. Some crazy points totals here. 130 points. We're not even on high scoring. We're on medium. And he did that, which is insane. As you see, Cole Caulfield, Farabee, a lot of 50-goal scorers this year. 91 assists for Evgeny Kuznetsov, by the way. Amongst the defensemen, John Carlson and Eric Branston. It's going to go to John Carlson. He was a plus 69 on the goddamn season. Drysdale top 6 in terms of scoring, so still no Norris trophies for him. Ian Mitchell led the defenseman in terms of scoring. And for the goaltenders, the winningest was Ilya Samsonov. Connor Hellebuyck has many wins, but in 4 more games. Shutout leader, 13 for Samsonov. I mean, goddamn, Washington was a juggernaut this year. No doubt a Vezina trophy for him. And Sergei Bobrovsky, not doing that bad for Florida. Rookie of the Year, it is going to be Rudolph Wennerberg. 20-year-old, 20th overall, 3 years ago. 32 goals, 47 points. I highly doubt they give it to Brendan Brisson. Rodion Amarov was up there as well. And Connor Bedard for the New Jersey Devils. And for goaltenders, there was a dude named James Hughes. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen played quite a bit as well. Hughes, medium link goalie, he's an 84. Was a third-round pick of the Kings 4 years ago. So with that, let's see how the season, or how the postseason, I should say, pans out. And that way, we can get to the lottery results, which, again, not expected to affect us overly heavily. Of course, with nobody projected in the top 3, the top 5, or even the top 10 for us to be concerned about missing out on, with us having the number 1 lottery odds yet again. So we'll see how it pans out. In terms of who wins the cup, I'm going to say Washington. Screw it. I think the AI is going to let them do it. They're going to steamroll their way to a cup. Why not? It'll be the one time a team actually does it. Or maybe not. No, the Philadelphia Flyers come out of the East to win the Stanley Cup in 2025. Philly, your champions. They beat Washington in round 2 in 6 games. after Washington steamrolled Buffalo, and the Flyers go on to beat the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Final. So we'll see who made up that Flyers roster. To this point, I believe Steven Stamkos and Filip Zadina. Congratulations to Filip Zadina. Alongside Stamkos, Bobby Brink. I'm sure people might want to see overalls at this point, but Zadina's a beast, Bobby Brink's a beast, Morgan Frost down to a low lead at 26, Farabee's a 92, Lucas Raymond, Jake Virtanen, wear a mask in a bar, you idiot, Travis Konechny, Nolan Patrick, Xavier Bourgault. I don't know, you're quite French, but oh no, that forward core is disgusting. Defensively, Provorov, Ghost Bear, Adam Ginning, I'm not sure, Mason Millman. There's one. The goaltender, say it with me now, 3-2-1, Kata Hat. 913 save percentage of an 89 overall for the 26-year-old now. But it was good enough to get the job done. When it comes to the awards, as the Flyers win their second cup in 4 years, 4 straight years of an Eastern Conference winner, Pastujov won the Art Ross and the Hart. John Carlson wins the Norris for the second year in a row. Pastujov also won the Lady Byng. The Calder does go to Winterberg. Zadina wins the Conn Smythe. Red Wings fans, that's got to be tough. The Vezina to Samsonov, as well as the Jennings. Eric Gustafson wins the Masterton. Jack Adams to Minnesota. Selke to Barkov. Pastujov wins the Lindsay and the Rocket Richard. Down in the AHL, Maverick Bourque scored the most points. He was league MVP. I think that's Kent Johnson. Same draft class, scored the most goals. Trevor Wong was the top rookie. Johnny Tyconic, top defenseman. Top goaltender, a dude named Meyer. And Boumediene was the MVP of the playoffs for your Calder Cup champions, the Providence Bruins. With that, we get to the lottery results. Again, it's not as dramatic for us. We know that there's no one available. We fall to 3. Congrats, though, to the Anaheim Ducks on moving up significantly in this class. So here we go. Another draft. We got the retired players first, of course, but another draft, and hopefully we can. It looked like we were going to be able to, but hopefully we can add some defensemen into the mix as some extremely notable names retire, at least amongst the forwards and amongst the defensemen as well. Burns, Subban, Ryan McDonough leading the way, almost 1,400 games for Burnsy. For the goaltenders, Marc-Andre Fleury, Pekka Rinne, Ben Bishop, Mike Smith as well, retired as a member of the Grand Rapids Griffins this year. As TJ Oshie becomes a scout. Good stuff. Let's do this. It is draft time. Can we get some good additions? Is the question. Let's find out. We will sim to the number 3 overall pick. The Ducks add a franchise-level player in Mohamed Millman from the Everett Silvertips, son of a bitch. And Pekka Puistinen also available. We needed a player like Millman in this series. We really did. We still might get him. But 3rd overall, we look at the OHL. How I wish Machias was available. Holy hell, how I wish Machias was available. He's not. However, shout out to Deandre Carleton, who moved up from 17th to 11th, slowly throughout the season, moving up in Central Scouting rankings. He is only a medium 6, now 18 years old, had a pretty good season for Saginaw, and that is going to be one hell of an addition alongside Brennan Othman, and he's NHL ready with a Couturier comparison. Fantastic. That is a huge addition. Deandre Carleton, welcome to Detroit, a 76 overall. Out of the gates, that is one of the first players that we've had selected in the top 3 that's actually been worthy of that top 3 pick. Extremely well-rounded. Can't wait to see how he fits in on this team. Number 96 for the Saginaw Spirit, but absolutely worth that particular selection. Next up, of course, there's not going to be anybody here in the mix. We'll look at our pinned players. All right, so we don't have to worry about missing out on anybody, but it's going to be Maldine or Lucasta. We might actually be able to get all 3. We might be able to. Unfortunately, Lucasta falling down the charts here. You also have Xavier Scuderi, but he's a confirmed low top 6, which is pretty disappointing. So let's go ahead and sim to our next pick, 32nd overall, first pick of the second round. As you're going to look here at who else was available. Wow, Carolina. Big winners there. in the top 10. The Islanders as well, getting a 61 overall medium elite at that point. Pretty good steal for them. But looking at who we have here, it is Maldine or Lucasta. Alan Maldine, mostly C's. 4 years out with a Parise comparison. Lucasta, apparently no weaknesses, also 3 years out. It's just if he's a confirmed low top 4, that's really going to suck. And then there is Scuderi. Right, we're going to be able to get both Maldine and Lucasta. But basically we have to choose between Lucasta and Scuderi. Okay, so it's going to be Maldine or Scuderi, and then we take Lucasta. 18 years old, 4 years out for Scuderi. Maldine, 4 years out. We don't know for sure what his potential is. The thing about Scuderi is he's listed as a gem, which I don't trust gem status often. Well-rounded personality, the passing ability. He just can't skate. But mostly C's, 1B and 1D. Whereas with Maldine, again, same thing. He can't skate, but apparently has decent shooting. I'm going to go with Alan Maldine with this pick. I feel like it's a safe bet. Another Saginaw player. He is a medium 9, which is what I was hoping for Mr. Maldine. So I will take that. 2 decent additions so far. And that brings us towards taking the defenseman Lucasta. With this next selection, we'll look back and see what Scuderi's overall was. But we finally add another defenseman in Cody Lucasta. He's a low top 4, so that's not amazing. But beggars certainly cannot be choosers in a series like this. I will take what I can get when we've had so many offensive additions. Scuderi was a 58. I feel pretty good about taking Maldine over him. Next up here, how I wish that frickin' medium elite and Doug Gunderson was available. People had it their way. He would have been eligible because he's an American in the OHL. So that's going to piss off some people who wanted that rule. Kind of pisses me off because Doug Gunderson would have been a hell of an addition to this team. But next up here, we have another tough choice. We have a really tough choice. It's got to be Barron or Armstrong. And then Goodbranson will be available next. So Len Barron, decent point total for a 19-year-old, 4-year ETA. Armstrong, an 18-year-old defenseman. It's got to be Armstrong. We need more defense. So Manny Armstrong from Saginaw is going to be the pick. He is 59, low top 6. Yikes. Yikes. As opposed to, let's go back and see what he was. Gunderson went to Boston. Pretty nice for them. Barron was a 61, low top 6. Maybe we should have gone for Barron. The drafting for need there kind of screwed us over. But hey, it is what it is. Goodbranson could potentially be next. It's him or Jake Darling. We might as well go for Goodbranson because we know Darling's only a low top 9. He's 18, but he has no positives. 5-year ETA. Whereas Goodbranson, 5-year ETA. I mean, it's not a great situation either way. We'll take Robinson, Goodbranson from the Flint Firebirds next up. 56 overall, low top 6. That's just, again, brutal. The last 3 picks have been pretty disappointing. Hopefully here in the 6th round, though, we can find somebody who makes this all worthwhile. And for our pinned players, let's see who we have here. We're going to be taking 2 out of the 3. So, I mean, Pinot, 5-year ETA at 17. Cyrus Hansen, a 6'4" goaltender. Pretty excited about that. You have Cody Thorne as an overager, which I'm going to rule him out right now, even though he's one of the few remaining defensemen. You have Dawson Lupel, no advantages at 18. Jessi Anderson as a defenseman, and the 20-year-old Sawyer Hay. I think we go for Anderson and we go for Hansen. And just hope for the best, even though Hansen's down in the 300s. So let's take the 6'5", 18-year-old from the Erie Otters. It's going to be Jessi Anderson with this next pick. I'm guessing low 6. Woo, okay, he was actually a low elite. 48 overall at 18 years old. That's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, hell, even if he ends up being like Dylan McElrath, that's still a decent addition to our team. And we will cap this off with a goaltender who, as long as he's at least medium fringe, we did well with the last 2 picks of this draft. So let's see. Cyrus Hansen, 6'4", low fringe. Okay. All in all, a pretty rough draft for us, unfortunately, if we're being honest. Carlton was a good pickup. From there, I mean, Anderson's the other highlight. The rest, it's question marks, to say the least. You can't really sugarcoat that situation as much as I wish that I could. But still, early stages, building blocks. We'll see what happens heading into next season. Where, I mean, hell, Jaime Drysdale's already 23 years old. We'll see what kind of development we have leading into next season, what kind of higher overalls we may have. But the exciting news is, again, the addition of Carleton, who is a legitimate inclusion to the NHL lineup and not somebody that we're forcing to be there, even though that does seem to be working through the series thus far. So I thank you guys for watching another episode and following along with this nightmare of a journey. Will we reach the promised land by the end of it? I have no idea. But again, I do thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, of course, make sure to drop a like on the video. Helps me out a lot around here. And of course, subscribe if you have not already done so, because what are you doing? Hit the button. It's easy. It's easy. Just hit the button. Of course, check out everything in the description as well if you have not already done so. Everything from the Twitter, the Instagram, the Twitch, where we stream every single night. The Teespring for random t-shirts and such. And, of course, the Patreon. And a shout out to my lovely patrons who, thank you again for your support. And I hope you enjoy, of course, all the extra stuff that we put up on there. I will see you all in the next one. Until then, have a good one. Take it easy. Stay safe. Wear a goddamn mask. And be right back here tomorrow, damn it. Otherwise, I'll miss you. Don't make me fear for you. Goodbye.